In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. I don't have much to say in my last presentation. Simply, I want to continue with the 3 points on page 240. Let us see. First of all, we said that we need Chomsky linguistics and we do not need it. We need it only to know that we concentrate on the teaching of those parts that must be taught and forget about those parts that are to be put out. Let us see. We do not teach acquisition, okay? The things that are automatically taught, acquisition. Why? All human beings are able to acquire language. We are not teaching this part of acquisition. Why? We believe that grammar is, for its most part, not all parts, of course, not all parts, is acquired. The grammar is acquired automatically. We are not going to teach this part of grammar at all. Okay? Only we concentrate on those parts of grammar which are problematic. So, coming to Chomsky linguistics, we only concentrate on those aspects of grammar which are in fact required to be taught, in fact, explicitly or implicitly. We are not going to work on those things. So we forget about teaching I language altogether. We are going to forget about teaching grammatical Chomsky linguistics for all our lives. We only have to understand that the parts which are not automatically developed, like communication, things like in the communication, let's say, for example, how we say hello, how we say goodbye, how we say, in fact, we have different types of greetings, and etc., etc. These are the things that we are going to teach. How? Using e-language approaches like pragmatics, like discourse. So the last lines are actually going to say that you're going to take good and careful attention of Chomsky and forget about, in fact, teaching grammar in your, in fact, classes. But if there is a kind of grammatical point, you are going to explain that grammatical point. Okay, it's like this. So page 240 says, bullet 1. Okay, bullet 1 says, teachers should concentrate on aspects of syntax that will not be automatically acquired. Why? Because acquisition is Chomskyan and Chomskyan is not teachable. We concentrate on those aspects that are not Chomskyan, must be taught, not acquired. Okay? By the students from the ordinary language input, as Chomsky says. Thinking of the language of the classroom as providing input for setting parameters may be a helpful addition to other ways of thinking about language teaching. Well, we do need principles and, in fact, principles and parameters. We need universal grammar, not for teaching, for thinking, for understanding, for other purposes. 2. It is useful to remember that language learning is not just learning how to behave in a range of situations. It is also acquisition of knowledge in the mind. Okay? So language is important in this kind of thing. Okay? Teaching has tended to go overboard for one-sided view of language. Okay? So UG reminds us that language is a mental knowledge as well as behavior. Okay, so when we actually are talking, when we are a second language learner is talking, it's a combination of two things at the same time: a mental knowledge and a behavior. Okay, two things at the same time. Well, the second part is the ilm al-nafs, psychology. Number 3, some of the descriptive devices used by UG theory may be of use in explaining grammar to L2 students. Good. Say the pro-drop parameter, languages like Farsi, languages like Arabic with pro-drop facility are like this, that when they talk in other languages, we forget, and you forget, because Arabic and Farsi is like this, we forget to have something like subject at the beginning of our sentence, okay? Because the verb actually shows it, okay? Because the verb shows it. So, in English I say, I went, okay? Or I cannot say went without I, okay? But in English, in Farsi, in Arabic, simply we say ذهبت without أنا ذهبت. Pro-drop. Farsi, من رفتم أنا ذهبت. Simply I can say something like this without man in Farsi. So, رفتم in Farsi or ذهبت in Arabic, without the subject أنا, without the subject man, and without the subject in other languages. But in English we cannot say, I should say I went, I cannot say went. Okay? So Chomskyan linguistics tells us, remember, our language is something like pro-drop. English is not. Remember, when you are going to teach your students something like this, indirectly say that they are going to, Arabic students are going to use, or Farsi students are going to use something like I at the beginning of the sentence, okay? So it's like this. So, mostly language teachers, line 2 of the third bullet. Mostly language teaching uses a mixture of types of grammatical description as seen in Nasaji and Photos, ranging from traditional grammar to grammatical morphemes, but so far has no visibly incorporated such as usable aspect of pro-drop some 25 years after its beginning. So you see that, as you see on these lines, we are not going to, in fact, work with grammar, except for the fact that we see that there are problems on the part of the students. If there are problems, actually we try to solve their problems. Well, so far so good. We had good discussions throughout this semester. We understood, in fact, Chomskyan universal grammar. We understood what we mean by language acquisition device in our minds. We understood that language is something like psychology, but this is not the end of everything. Maybe e-language approaches are right. So we are going to have two things at the same time, Chomskyan and non-Chomskyan. This book is Chomskyan. From this time on, we are going to be non-Chomskyan as well. Thank you very much. You actually had a good chance of, in fact, understanding Chomskyan ideas related to the second language acquisition. Thank you everybody. Thank you everyone for listening patiently to what I said throughout the semester. Again and again, thank you very much. Have a good time. See you in Iran. Maybe we are going to see you in Iran. the next semester after this COVID-19 pandemic.